Thanks, Matt, and thank you everybody for coming along. I know there's some great presentations going on in the different halls parallel to this, so I appreciate you choosing this one. A copy of all the slides will be made available, but feel free to take snapshots or pictures at any particular stage. That's not an issue, but the URL at the end will go up to for everybody to access the slides if you need them. So, as Matt says, my name is Mark Glynn. I will go through a brief introduction as to who I am and who Catalyst are, the company that I'm working for. But then what I want to do is go through, first of all, I can't get away from my sort of lecture background, my teaching background. I want to give a little bit of a lesson on academic integrity as we're talking about assessment and assessment at large scale. Then the bulk of the talk will be talking about some case studies that we've been involved in around assessment at scale, and whether it's assessment development at scale or whether it's assessment implementation at scale. The 4 case studies that we'll go through hopefully will give people in the room some ideas, some excitement, and hopefully some opportunity to get involved in some of these things themselves afterwards, okay? So, and I'm very conscious of the fact, so I am from Ireland, I am speaking very fast and I speak with a strong accent. If I am speaking too fast, please let me know in some way. God bless the person who has to tell me to stop talking, but with regards to speaking too fast, if you do want me to slow down, that's no worries whatsoever. And I will be available at the Catalyst stand, which is in the basement, basically, just as you come in the main door, if you do have follow-up questions afterwards. We are trying to get ourselves back on time in terms of the agenda. We started, I think, 15 minutes late, but we will finish on time, so everybody else will be able to catch up. Okay, so introduction. Who am I and who is Catalyst? Just to show you who I am and the long and twisted journey that I've actually came on as part of this talk. I'm a chemist by trade. Dr. Mark Glynn was introduced as earlier on, but I couldn't tell you what colour a white lab coat is. It's been so long since I've been in a lab. But I started off as a subject matter expert in a brand new e-learning company on how to teach people chemistry, right? That was a long, long time ago in the black and white days. And as we started to come into colour, I was doing public relations for the pharmaceutical sector, but it was mainly public relations with the education sector and trying to bridge the gaps. And then I started teaching. From teaching chemistry, I moved more into teaching with Moodle and telling my colleagues and helping my colleagues teach Moodle, which was where it all started, where I got the bug, and that was in about 2005-ish, so it was the early days of Moodle. And sort of a piece of trivia which I'm very proud of, in my DCU days, which is up there in the Teaching Enhancement Unit in DCU, Martin Dougiamas was our tech support when we first launched Moodle, right? Even though he was based in Australia, he was the tech support for Moodle forward when we were coming. And moving through the pathway, I did spend some time in EY and telling people how to transform their strategies, transform the way they work using technology, digital technology, and now I've moved to Catalyst, the biggest Moodle partner. For me, I've been involved, as I said, in the Moodle community since the early days, but looking at how we could enhance it and getting people using it better across our organisation. And then in terms of who are Catalyst, so you will see us wear the red shirts, no reference to Star Trek whatsoever. There'll be none of us dying before the end of the conference, but you will see the red shirts going around the whole conference. Please feel free to stop any of them at any stage and ask them whatever questions. But again, just like myself, involved in the Moodle community for a long time, so is Catalyst. We're the biggest Moodle partner. There's over 350 of us worldwide, and we're spread across, I think it's 9 different offices now, is it? We've Catalyst Ireland, Catalyst New Zealand, Catalyst Australia, everybody's houses as well, yeah, of course. So we're literally a global operation and supporting Moodle in all different shapes and sizes across Moodle and another product called Totra, and again another product again called Mahara, which is an e-portfolio platform. So we're in the circle, we specialize in open source, and we, like education is our business, particularly higher ed is where our specialities is and our large scale. You'll see there some of the institutions that we support. We couldn't fit them all on there, but you'll see Cambridge, DCU I see are here, UCL we have here as well, but we also have like Noun University, which is over 600,000 students logging on, so large Moodles is what we do. And we have contributed a huge amount back to the community in the last, in the last year, I think we had 5,500 development hours went through, and we have over 70 plugins on the community database. So we're around a while, and feel free to chat to us if you have any questions about Moodle. But I want to move on to the guts of the talk, and as I said, I can't get that lecture out of my head where I want to start with a little bit of a lesson for you, and the little bit of a lesson is academic integrity and what we can do or what the reasons are on why students cheat, right? And by looking at this, I want you to keep all of these reasons, and there's a plethora of reasons here, but I want to keep these reasons in your head when you're looking through the approaches and the case studies we have, but also in your assessment approaches in your own institution, right? And what I want to bring you to is a fraud triangle, right? It's not mine, I didn't create it by any stretch of the imagination, but I am applying it to an education context. The fraud triangle is from the world of banking. From 1953, it goes back to why do people commit fraud. I'm making the analogy to why they commit cheating, why they commit fraud in an academic context, right? And Cressy came up with these 3 different areas. They commit fraud because they're under pressure. So again, relate this to your students. They cheat because they're under pressure. They cheat because they can, because they have the opportunity to cheat. And then they cheat because they can rationalize it. Okay? So, and I've purposely drawn this as a triangle. And what we need to do as organizations, no matter what your role is in your organization, is try to decrease the size of that triangle. And the smaller the triangle, the smaller the chances of them committing academic misconduct or cheating. Does that make sense? Okay, so the problem that we have, and we had great presentation there in the last session, the problem that we have is AI has increased the opportunity. It's just made it so much bigger, and it's beyond their control. The quicker, like if you say, oh, AI can't do X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z just becomes the to-do list of the people behind AI. This is what we're going to make it do tomorrow. We're never going to be able to keep up with the technology. And while I appreciate there's loads of advances in detection of AI text and all sorts of different, we're fooling ourselves trying to keep on top of that. So what I would like us to do is to focus on the other bits, focus on the pressure. How can we use Moodle to reduce the pressure on the students? How can we set up our environment to reduce the pressure? And how can we reduce the rationalization for them cheating as well? Yes, we can reduce the opportunity to a certain extent by working with our lecturers to not allow them do the same assessment every single year and not allow do the same type of assessment the entire way along. But AI has totally distorted this triangle and made this challenge of stopping the opportunity much harder for us, okay? But if we can reduce the pressure, if we can reduce the rationalization, we will decrease the size of that triangle, right? So that's my academic bit done, out of the way. But keep that in your mind as to why and how you should tackle fraud and cheating in higher education. So the case studies I want to talk about, I want to start off doing one, and this is assessment at scale. I want to start off doing one which is with DCU. So Rob was here, I seen him come in the door. There's Rob, and indeed Annabella, who's another colleague from DCU. I don't think she's here at the moment, but she'll be speaking on this later, I think Thursday at 2 o'clock, Sam, is that right? Annabella, yeah? So I would encourage you to go to learn a little bit more about this. But what they were doing around assessment at scale, they wanted to assess all first years, right? So in their institutions, 4,500 first years. All first years, they wanted to assess them on what they deemed critical skills, right? And you'll see some of the courses that they created. They created stuff on digital skills. They created stuff on self-management, on well-being, a whole load of stuff that rightly or wrongly isn't in the majority of curriculum. Isn't in the chemistry curriculums, isn't in the maths curriculums. We want to embed it in there, but they were coming at it from a central body. How do we assess these skills? How do we teach it, first of all, and then how do we assess it? All right? So what DCU did with Sam, who's sitting in the front audience there, do you wave your hand, Sam? Right? If you want to ask it, they created a whole series of short courses, right? And then they used the Catalyst plugin called Subcourse. And Subcourse then embedded those short courses, and the buzzword could be micro-credentials if you want to put a label on it, right? But embedded those short courses in various different modules throughout the curriculum. And some of them, they were self-paced modules that the student did outside, right? But in a lot of cases, they've tried to embed them within the curriculum and embed them within the modules. And the challenge that they had was, well, if we developed all of this content and then we gave it to the lecturers in economics and we gave it to the lecturers in maths and we gave it to the entire university, they all made their own different versions. And then they all implemented them, some as well as others, some not as well. They all changed this, and we had no idea of how this is being used, how it's being embedded, and how effective it is. And then when you try update your content, you're trying to backtrack and find all of these different versions around it. And again, this was targeted at 4,500 students. You'd no idea how many of that 4,500 students were completing the modules, being assessed by the modules, and say, successfully completing the content. So Sam comes along with the sub-course and now embeds that content in there. So when they are in Economics 101 and they're doing the digital skills sub-course, that information is fed back to the main course, which Sam and indeed Annabella has access to. And when Sam and Annabella changes that content, it will update it in Economics 101 or in Chemistry 101 or wherever module it is. And it allowed them to deliver the content at scale and assess it at scale. So there are tons of opportunities for sub-course, and I know there will be tons of people in this room, and I'd like to open it to the floor now to see how do you assess these soft skills or graduate attributes or whatever buzzword you have within your own institution. How do you manage that? Because in a lot of cases, the chemists want to concentrate on chemistry and the economists want to concentrate on economics. They think all that soft and fluffy stuff. But we all know that it's crucial for the development of our students. So I'd love to know, and would encourage you to go and ask Sam and ask Annabella about this sort of stuff. But does anybody in this room, in their institutions, assess this stuff? And if so, how do they do it? Do they deliver it? And how do they do it? Anybody got any ideas they're willing to share? The deathly silence. I should have placed some people in the audience here first. I can move on if nobody has any ideas they're willing to share. Yep, Lorraine.
So Sheila and I both work in further education, and we use Moodle for apprenticeships as well as for further ed courses. Some of our teachers have come up with absolutely brilliant ways of integrating assessments. They have found integrating assessments to be really effective. And trying keeping real-life situations where they would test the learners on real-life situations or put them into situations where they have to practice what they've learned. Sheila and I will always say, and we've said it all the time, the logs never lie. So anytime anyone has a problem or if they need us to check something out, we check the logs and we'd say, yes, that was copied and pasted. No, that was worked on. So, and by letting everybody know, even the teachers have tried to lie to us, that first of all, if you lie and if you do something, we will know straight away. And they've everyone terrified of us. Yeah. So the monster under the bed is real. And trying to keep it as kind of interactive as possible. And it does really work for us.
And the key takeaway from, thank you very much, the key takeaway for that is Moodle's logs is incredibly comprehensive. So you can use that, and at scale, you can very easily monitor the logs and monitor. I get you.
Just back up what
So if you have the badges, they can be site-wide badges and done across the world, no matter where they're done.
Well, yes and no, but they could be site-wide.
Yeah.
But because of the dispersed nature of the apprenticeship, that we work with a lot of collaborative providers, they're actually course-level badges that we work with people and teach them how to implement them at their course level, and more importantly, reward them.
Brilliant.
And then they feed into the e-portfolios.
Absolutely brilliant. So again, that's tying it all together, doing the assessment at scale across programs as well. So super. I want to get to a development case study here, and I'm delighted to see Tim Hunt in the audience, and I need to do it total justice as to what it is. But there's a collaborative project, the largest, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the largest collaborative project in Moodle history, Tim, around the Question Bank collective. But this is a really great example of where the users, the Moodle community, came across a problem and how they then addressed that by coming together as a community and developing this stuff, which went into core Moodle, right? So all of the developments you're seeing in Moodle 4, right up to 4.5, and indeed into 5.0 around the question bank, this is an assessment at scale project, a development project that's worked incredibly well and still open for contributions if anybody wants to support it. But to give the DCU story behind it, because I was in DCU, how we got involved in it at the time, we were one of the, I think, 30 or 36 different organisations involved in it. We wanted to run a Moodle quiz at scale across the university for all students. Every single first year that came in, every student that came in did a maths diagnostic test. But we had a problem with the core functionality of Moodle, that it didn't have the flexibility that it now has, thanks to Tim and the team, Antonia and Luca and all the people behind that. The assessment at scale that they were able to manage now makes this, they had to move away from Moodle with this because the functionality wasn't there. But then in comes the magic team that we have here. We have Luca, Antonia, Thomas and Tim, but that's only just a small section. They're the ringleaders, for want of a better expression. But they were able to address the challenge that DCU had, where there was specific quiz requirements that they had. They wanted to be able to track the history of the quiz. They wanted to get stats on every single different version of the question. Tim and the group came along. I mean, I'm saying Tim because I can see him. I can't see anybody else here in the room from that group. But over 30 different institutions contributed to that project, some of them with finances, some of them with development. And Catalyst, we were delighted to be part of that. Mark Johnson was the sort of the engine behind it from our point of view, putting all this development in scale. So if you are interested, if you do see problems with some of the features, look towards the tracker, look towards the Moodle community, see if these issues are also experienced by somebody else, and start these large-scale collaborations. There's another large-scale collaboration going. Yes, Tim.
If you want the full story of this project, we're giving a talk on the third day just after that.
Yep, that was going to be my next sentence that I was literally just going to say, but thank you very much. What time, can you remember?
2:30 on Thursday.
2:30 on Thursday, okay. And again, feel free to pop down to the stand. We can give you more information on that. And there's another collaborative project to do a double marking of Moodle, and that's being used and led by UCL. There. So again, if you're interested in, if you say, oh, well, I'd like some maybe functionality to be introduced in Moodle where I can have collaborative marking, or I can increase the power that's already there within Moodle, talk to UCL, talk to ourselves in Catalyst. We can put you in contact with UCL. But the whole idea being, this is a change that we can make Moodle-wide that will actually impact, and this is the brilliance of this particular project, it impacts every single Moodle user because we got together as a community. So again, very, very useful case study, and I encourage you to go to that talk at 2 p.m. And then the exams during COVID, we worked with Concordia. I know COVID is a distant memory now at this stage, but what was really useful about this particular project was we looked at the current features of Moodle, and I'm conscious of time and trying to keep true with it, but we looked at some of the current features and said, right, how can we use those current features for an exams platform? And then what's missing? What do we need to do? What do we need to develop to enhance the way that works? And whether it's looking at the category structure and putting all the exams into categories and hiding or unhiding them accordingly, whether it is, in the case of Concordia, developing this broadcast tool, broadcast plugin, which then was you were able to message all of the students in particular cohorts, in particular exams at a time. It was a brilliant example of where we were able to use Moodle at scale to manage the assessments for them all. And again, I know we did that for so many of our other different partners, but what was useful with the Concordia particular example was the fact that they developed extra plugins or enhancements to existing features. And indeed, spinning out of that, some of our colleagues in Catalyst Australia and Catalyst New Zealand developed other plugins related to assessment, like the academic integrity plugin, that you had to have a statement, and then there was a plugin to do with your marking guides, your advanced grading, the rubrics and the marking guides, where you can manipulate or highlight and report on particular features, particular criteria, and say you don't pass this module until you score a particular score in that criteria within the rubric. Again, looking at how we could manage assessment at scale and how we can modify Moodle accordingly. Conscious of time, I'm just going to skip through the light slide. I will come back to that question at the end. But I do want to talk about the case study here with regards to, and giving credit to UCL and Cambridge, but to be honest, I can add several different more logos onto this too, because we've had more content, more of our clients and outsiders wanting to get involved and contribute to this project. But what they wanted to do was to run all of these, their exams online, run all of the quizzes online, run all of the exam submissions online. And anybody that runs a large Moodle knows that if you have a ton of quizzes starting at the one time, or you have a ton of submissions starting at the one time, you'll more than likely get a pain in your chest coming up to that deadline date, right? And also, part of the pain in the chest is the fact you don't know when those deadlines are, and you don't know when it's going to come. It's like, surprise, your Moodle site has crashed, right? So what we ended up doing through the vision of UCL and Cambridge and so many others, we developed this assessment dashboard. And I appreciate each one of these screens might be quite difficult to see, right? But this is a dashboard and it's aimed at two people, right? The site admin and then also the teacher, right? So each of them have access to all of these reports. But if you're looking at diagram number 1 on the left-hand side of your screen as you're looking at it, that is a heat map to show you the entire academic year. I've just focused in on 2 particular months, but when there are an awful lot of assignments, the date is color-coded, and you'll see the key up on the right-hand side of the scale. If it's above 50 assignments coming in at the one time, you will have a turn red. We have a blue, which is 2 assignments, and we have a green, which is 12 assignments and above, and 26 assignments, and so on. But it gives you straight away, say, that's a day that's going to be very intensive on our servers, so we need to scale it up accordingly. We need to be ready for this, right? And that can be reflected, and you can change it. You'll see the filter menus up the top. That will be allow you the flexibility with, I want to look at the number of assessments, or I want to look at the number of people involved in those assessments. So maybe having 10 quizzes isn't a problem if you've only 5 people in each class, but you could have 1 quiz, but 1,000 students in that class. So again, it gives you the power and the capability to be able to identify where your choke points are going to be and put in the scaling that you need to put in to adjust it. And then there's other graphs, and again, I don't expect you to be able to see them. You will have a copy of these slides afterwards, and you can have a play down on their stand later on to go through these if you wish. But it can give you live data on who's interacting with the quiz at the moment, how long are they open for, how long have they been involved in, how many students are doing these things. And we have here in progress or finished or not logged in yet even. There's other sort of graphs and data analysis that you will have with these assessment dashboard. Going back to the image number 1 there, you'll see the different tabs across that image, which literally every one of those are different reports, right, that you can drill into. So again, to emphasize who has visibility of this, the site admin, but then also these reports are available on a course page for the lecturer if they want to go in and see, well, who's logged into that quiz? Who's currently doing that quiz? Going back to Lorraine's point, the logs don't lie, right? So we can see this and get that insight and then obviously make adjustments as needs be. So again, why this is a good case study to highlight here, I wanted to focus in it because it allows you at a site-wide level to do assessment at scale but manage that accordingly. All right? So I say that's what we call the assessment frequency dashboard. So I do want to wrap up. I've now gone into my...
Mark,
Good.
we'd have adjusted the sessions a little bit, so you've still got some more time.
Oh.
They're going to wrap this one up at 11:45.
11:40.
Well, yeah, the next session will start at 11:45. So
Okay. I've now talked an awful lot faster than I should have talked. So we're going to start again. All right. No, that's no problem. We can wrap it up and come back out to suggestions from the floor. I said I'd skip through those, right? But in terms of wrapping it up, each one of those projects, some of them from a pedagogy point of view, some of them from an administration point of view, the key thing I want to get across to you is Moodle can do it. You do not need to start going out to other platforms. You do not need to start investing significantly in third-party elements to it. Moodle can be the focus of it, right? Then if you have issues, don't try to do this sole development and that becomes not sustainable going forward when you upgrade and upgrade again. Speak to these collaborative projects. Try speak to a partner that gets your plugin developed and pushed towards core. Like all of the work that Tim and Antonia and Luca all driven, it was a massive load of development. And again, you'll get all the details at the session on Thursday, but that's now all in core. So Tim doesn't have to worry about that now anytime Open University need to upgrade. It's there, it's sustainable and there forever. The assessment dashboard is, that's there now, UCL never have to worry about there being all of a sudden a huge intensity on their site. And let's face it, academics can tell you on day one, yeah, I'm running that quiz on the 17th of November, that's absolutely no problem. And then for whatever reason, they change those dates and you never know about it. Assessment dashboard will keep that information up to date. Sam.
To add, the assessment dashboard isn't to support quizzes and activities happening before a deadline. It was actually designed as well for live exam situations where people are sat in a room under exam conditions and there's tools in there to help the facilitators in the room, help students that may need a bit of extra time, and just go straight in via the dashboard, give them the extra 15 minutes if they need it. If there's a technical issue, they can go in and sort it out. So it really, really helps, especially at Cambridge University, who use it for their live exam situations.
Yeah.
Just wanted to add, it's both sides, live, locked classroom assessments as well as online in their rooms too.
So you're imagining real life scenarios. You're in an exam and you realize somebody needs extra time for whatever reason they need it. You can add in a user override. Or maybe there's a note that's came through. We've all been in our exam halls where somebody said, actually question 7, there's a typo on it and that needs to be changed and we're going to give you extra marks or what else have you, and messes it up. So again, with the broadcast tool, with the assessment dashboard, all of these sort of features are available. Right? All of it available because we modified Moodle. And what happened, and the beauty of that project was UCL came to with a particular issues and targets they wanted to develop. And then we developed them, that was great, everybody patting ourselves in the back, but then Cambridge came on, wouldn't it be great if it did this, which is the example that Sam said. Yeah. And now Bath have came along and said, actually, do you know what, I'd really like it to do X, Y, and Z more. So think of those in the collaborations, use the community that we have here in the room. The MoodleMoots are class for it, but there's loads of different opportunities to collaborate across, come up with those ideas, share them, and try community source the development of it where possible. But don't lose focus of the academic integrity stuff that I said at the start, right? When you are planning your assessments, and we're able to do that to make sure with all of the various different setups that we have, that we can accommodate that, reduce the pressure. And we now have an assessment dashboard so we can see, oh, well, everybody in this program is under real intense time and stress in week 7, right? That whole week 7 syndrome, you're halfway through the semester and every lecturer decides that's when I'm going to have my assessment. And every lecturer is fine, they're looking in their little bubble, but they're not looking at what the student is seeing and the pressure that the student is under. So now with the assessment dashboard and you have that overview of it, you can reduce the pressure by saying to the lecturers, change this deadline around, or can you move that to this one? And lecturers are, for the most part, very nice people, right? For the most part, right? So when you have this sort of information at your fingertips, you're able to make data-informed decisions, and that's what it's all about, to try and improve your instance, improve your learner experience, and improve the assessment experience of it. What I will say in terms of if you are interested, whether it's talking about exam platforms, so for end of semester exams, or whether you're talking about developing assessments, as I said, maybe Jason, if you can just stick up your hand there for UCL. Anybody wants to talk to UCL about the double marking project and maybe getting involved. Tim, again, well, everybody knows who Tim is anyway, in fairness, but Tim, if you want to talk about the question bank project, please, as well as coming along to the talk later on Thursday, have a chat with Tim if you see them popping around, or Luca. Let me put up the pictures that we have of them. Is Antonia here? I haven't seen Antonia. Antonia's here as well. If you see any of those people, nab them in the corridors and try to get involved, right? And of course, come to us at the stand at Catalyst and we will be able to point you in their direction if you can't find it, or indeed help you solve your problem if that's something you're there. The contact details are there if you want to reach out. No phone calls at 4 a.m. in the morning to tell me you're having a great time at a Moodle party, right? But everything else is there, or come along to the stand and we can go. Lorraine.
Just going back to the overrides and all of that sort of stuff we were talking about earlier on, we have a lot of apprentices with learning disabilities, and we would use overrides a lot to give them extra time to make them more accessible. And we found that the accessibility features inside in the exam environment in Moodle are really, really good for our apprentices. They can go on there now, find the URL, they can do their interviews with teachers, or they can go into a salon and they can video what they're doing and they can put it up into their learning journal. We use draft book zones for all of the assessments. The one rule that we would have with them is the least amount of documents that they create off Moodle, the better. We can prove that if they're working on their learning journal for 12 or 14 weeks, that it's all their own work. In the draft work zone, they move it into assessment centre. But if they're just uploading a document, we do not know.
And it's another reason why, and sorry, just to try summarise that for the benefit of the recording, the least amount of work they do outside Moodle, the better, is the comments there. And it's another reason why you would want to keep as much inside Moodle and look at developing and enhancing Moodle as much as possible, because if you're with and using a third-party platform and for whatever reason you stop using it, all the data is gone. All the data is over there and it's gone forever. But the whole concept behind it is if you can keep it in Moodle, you can track the data, you can then do an awful lot more with the data. For example, one of our clients has in the profile fields whether students have difficulties, learning difficulties, so they'll need additional time in the exams. And in their course template, they've created a group, and the group has anybody in this group gets an extra 10 minutes for the exams. You don't have to know who's in the group. That's not an issue. But if they're in this group, they automatically get a user override on their quiz of 10 extra minutes or 20 extra minutes or whatever the case may be. By having that data in Moodle, it allows you to take advantage of all that sort of stuff. Assessment at scale, and in that case, accounting for or accommodating, students that have learning difficulties quite subtly, which is nice. Anybody got any other questions or comments? Or yes, this gentleman just behind. Sorry, just if I can interrupt, if you could say who you are and what institution, just in case somebody wants to get in contact with you later on.
If you don't want to yell, there's also a mic either side.
Oh yes. If okay. Mm-hmm.
So isn't there an issue when you try to amend an exam while it's being taken, particularly if it's many people?
So we can do that again through the broadcast tool that was there. The notification then is dropped on that exam page, for that Moodle page for the people. It is an issue, of course, if they're outside of Moodle, because they're not going to see that message. But if the exam is done in Moodle, it will pop up for them to say there's additional time that's been added. According.
Certain kinds of messaging you can do, you couldn't really edit, for example, a question.
If it's been live, yes, yeah. But there's a reason for that. You know, there's modification, and again, that's why the version histories and all the other developments with that come in. But yes, you can't edit it while it's live. And hopefully Tim doesn't correct me here now on this. No?
Well, come and chat to me in the break.
Yeah, there we go. Find Tim and chat in the break. We go from there. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sure.
John Owens, I'm currently working with the Royal Navy.
Okay.
We have a lot of courses that the same course runs again and again. What we really would like for assessments is to be able to set an assessment on day 7 of the course, day 21, rather than 17th of September by date. Is there any way in here, any way that we can do that?
So relative assessment, I'm going to put you on the spot, Jason, but I think that, that UCL have developed a plugin. Talk to a guy called Alistair. He looks like Hagrid out of thing, but oh, you saw him. You see, you know who we're talking about. Talk to Alistair. A much younger Hagrid, yes, yeah. A lovely Hagrid. This is recorded now. I'm saying this with all the love, Alistair. And he'll be able to chat to you about that. But they've developed something to get around that feature because they when they roll over all their courses, they have to update all the dates. But yeah, so talk to Alistair. It's not in Core Moodle, but there is a person from Moodle HQ just sitting right here. It could be worth having a nudge with him. Use your Navy influence to get there.
Well, it just strikes me as a very useful thing.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to specify specific things.
Yeah.
They did do some work on this in Moodle Core some years ago. What makes it extremely difficult is time zones. So 10 o'clock on a day in November is not the same as 10 o'clock on a day in June. And the people doing the work are in Perth, Western Australia, where they didn't have daylight saving time, so they didn't think about it.
See,
So it's one of those things. Dates are extremely irritating.
it just sounds like a challenge for Catalyst to fix. You come to us and we can try to solve that way. Okay, no worries. Gentleman at the back.
Just first technology certified integration partner, and I like your points about keeping everything on Moodle. I'm curious if there's work to be done or opportunity for collaboration for qualitative assessment, specifically for how students might be writing on Moodle concurrently and challenges with that.
Sorry, can you just say the last bit again? Sorry, the question.
So if when for quizzes multiple choice, but a lot of page loads, but for writing, so autosave, other things like that to make the writing experience for students better. If there's work being done on that, or if you have any comments.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why the platforms like yourselves are so successful. It's because Moodle doesn't do it, right? Because you're solving a problem that's there. I'd like to see the improvements happen, but possibly with the likes of yourselves to make sure that they get into Core Moodle or have some way of integrating with it. But the key thing, going back to Lorraine's point here, was being in control of your data and being able to access all that data, because then you can make data-informed decisions. That's what it's all about. How are we doing for time? Are we all right? All right, so this lady, and then I'll come to yourself. Yeah, sorry. Personally, I don't. My sort of scales in Ireland are completely different to the scale that would be in the US in terms of the number of students that you would have. We have found making the rubrics and preparing them and having sort of templates available for lectures does make it easy, but it's very difficult to get away from the harsh bit that they have to review them, they have to scan them. I have been in a lecture where I was struggling with 100 students to grade. I know there's modules with a hell of a lot more than 100. And unfortunately, what they end up doing is moving away from those sort of assessments into something that's easy to manage with the numbers. It's a challenge, and maybe some of the stuff that was talked about today earlier on during the keynote could help somewhat, but I'd be sceptical of that myself.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Don Cook. Organisation called Learn Team. Firstly, great work from Catalyst, fantastic case study. I really like the dashboards in terms of hotspot picking up an assessment. My question is that after sort of 15 years of struggling with Moodle data, it's very good at real time. It's really good at telling you where we are right now. One of our areas of focus is about background analytics and predictive AI. So are you capturing some of that information so that subsequently we can use it to better inform for next year? That's the question.
Yeah, so we have another plugin called Data Flows, which allows you essentially to move data around, for want of a better expression. So to pass data from the logs to somewhere else, for argument's sake, to a data lake or something similar, and then you can actually do those analytics accordingly. But the advantage of Moodle logging everything is there's so much information then that's at your fingertips. And then when you have something like data flows, you literally can ping data to the right people at the right time. And that's the key bit to it, is the right data to the right people at the right time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As a Moodle person and a data geek, it's like swimming in a sea of data opportunity.
Yeah, it is. But it's a matter of getting that data. So that's why we built the likes of data flows, to make that easy.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Gentleman again.
Ron again.
Yeah.
About quiz questions. So we have issues where sometimes academics build quiz questions with weird logic or no logic.
I'd like to say I'm shocked by that statement, but
Is there any way to easily identify where those have been created? Or maybe it would be flagged to the teacher that, okay, this is wrong, maybe we shouldn't be allowed to create this. Something's wrong.
there is a flag capability within Moodle, but the question I would put back to you, so again, for the benefit of the recording, is there any way to flag a question if there's it being wrong or the logic being mismatched? There is a flag capability within Moodle where you can flag a particular question, but the question is who's going to identify that it's wrong or that the challenge is there? And sorry, Sam wants to come in again.
Because the flag comes up in the assessment dashboard during the live quiz to say students are marking the question incorrectly, so the instructors can go and have a look. Yeah, some people during the live sessions will have like a matrix room open so everybody can access and ping the link and say, oh yeah, no, my bad.
But again, you're back to the problem, hopefully Tim will be able to address, but back to the problem of can you change a question in the middle of the exam or how you get around that. Okay, are we wrapping up? Are we happy to?
We'll do the changeover at 11:45, so
Great.
that's when the next session will start. So
Great. Well, this is it. I'm seeing minus figures here. It's on -8 here, so it's, yeah. Yeah. Oh, another question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so jump in.
Oh, I'll fix that then once I sit down. Yeah, perfect. And actually, I didn't point that out specifically. This is the slide link where, in about 5 minutes, the slides will actually be made available. Oh yes, yeah, of course. We do have demos of the dashboard and everything else downstairs. If you do want to have a look at it, and what we'll do, conscious of the fact people may want to get up and stretch and do whatever. So I'll hang around down the bottom, and Sam will be here down the bottom. And if anybody wants to ask questions, please do so.
Yeah. Otherwise, thank you, Mark, for your presentation and your time.